Hey everyone! Gonna be doing a little sewing project, so I just thought I would um, stream live. I'm on my YouTube channel and my two Facebook pages. Hope you guys are having a great Sunday. I'm gonna pull this up just so I can make sure that I'm in the camera view. Hold on. Find it. There we go. Hope you guys are having a great Sunday. I'm gonna pull this up. All right, cool. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing today is I made a desk cover for one of my sergers at the store. So I'm going to do one for one of my machines that I have here at home. But this same process can be used to make a cover for your sewing machine. You can make a cover for your toaster, your crock pot, whatever you want. So there's not necessarily a pattern, so it's more just about measuring, and you can use any. I'm just using some kind of like a heavier twill. I'm just getting in my stash of fabrics. I had made some tote bags with this cute owl print many moons ago, and I'm like, I've got plenty of that. Just a cute cotton. You can make it decorative, but it's pretty simple. But we just have to do some measuring. So my serger, I mean, and you can't buy you can order them on Amazon. They're just plain plastic. They're not very cute, but they're standard sizes. And this particular machine that I'm going to be covering is wider than some of my other sergers, so that's why I picked this particular one to work with. So if you have any questions, just let me know. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. So essentially, you're going to need your sewing machine, scissors, thread. You're going to need a tape measure, and then your fabric. And yep, that's all we're going to need. I'm trying to, and pins. That's the other thing. I'm like missing something. So with your serger, maybe even your sewing machine, this holds the thread, so this goes up and down. You can measure it with it up. If you don't think you're going to be putting it down, you can push it all the way down. I'm just going to put mine about halfway down, just because I don't want it pushed all the way down, because I know I won't do that. And then I can just throw the cover over it. This is actually my cover stitch machine, so that's why it's a little bit wider than my other sergers. So they're all a little bit different. Same with sewing machines. There's no standard size. So one cover may or may not fit your sewing machine or whatever. But this is wider, so I know this will cover all of my machines. So if I wanted to switch it, I know this will be the biggest one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tape measure, and I'm going to measure from the table all the way over the top. And then it kind of juts out in the front. And I'm going to be kind of, I'm not going to like be super tight. And then I'm going to measure all the way to the table. So loosely, let me see if I can push this camera back just a little bit so you can see more on the table what I'm doing. There we go. Okay. So I'm going from the table to table, and I'm going over the front where it has the fullest part. It's about 37 inches. Okay. So I know lengthwise I'm going to need 37 inches to cover it. Now I'm going to measure. Now the base is going to only be about 14 inches, but it has this piece over here. Let's get this out. See, this is sticking out past the machine. So I really need to measure from here all the way out. I'm kind of eyeballing this is about 20. And I want to add some for seam allowance, because if you don't add to that measurement, it's going to be too tight. So just for safety purposes, I'm going to go 22 inches. I'm going to add an inch to either side. And thankfully, I've got a pen right here so I can write this down, because I know as I'm talking, I'm going to forget. So we've got 22 inches wide and 37 inches over the top and back. And I'm going to add, just so I can turn it up and have a little seam allowance, I'm going to add 2 inches to that also. So that now is going to be 39. It's going to be my length. So the first piece I need to cut is going to be 39 inches long by 22 inches wide. So let's go ahead and get my fabric, and we'll cut that piece first. And we'll cut two sides to fit on the back. Let me slide this out of the way for a second. And I'm going to fold this in half because it's really wide. Okay, so I've got a cutting mat here that's 36, and then I'll just add 3 more inches to get my 39. And I'm gonna get a little cut. Okay, so now we're going to cut across. Okay, now it needs to be 22 inches wide. Make sure I did, yep, got that right. I'm gonna fold it the other direction. I'm just folding this up just to shrink it up on my table. Okay, so now I'm cutting. Make sure this is straight. Now these are just measurements for my machine, so each machine is going to be different, so you'll have to double check, but I would say if you're doing a cover for your serger, you could probably start out with these measurements, but yours may be smaller. Okay, so now that I've cut that, we can just double check, just get an idea. Okay, should be plenty wide enough. Now, if you want to cheat, you could always finish your edges and put a ribbon right here and just tie it. I have seen that done. I'm actually going to put sides on mine. So you could fold these edges in, do a little top stitching, put some cute ribbon, and just tie it because technically it's covered, you know, for dust purposes. So I'm going to make a box. I'm going to leave this on here for just a minute. Making sure that there's about 1 inch flipped out front and back. And now I'm going to turn this so I can show you what I'm doing too. I'm going to kind of hold this out because I want to create, even though it is not totally square, we're going to create like a rectangular piece, but you can't make it too tight. So this is where it's going to get a little tricky. Because I want the front, because it juts out further, to come straight up. And then we'll create as kind of a straight line, but okay, I'm gonna put a pin right here. So I'm kind of measuring and creating a side. So it'll be, I want to put a rectangular piece right in here, okay? But I want to make sure that I've still got enough laying down here. I don't want it to pull up too much so that we can hem the bottom. And I think that's going to work. I'm going to take this off and then we'll see what we've got measured here. I'm going to match up these pins real quick. Now my front is a little bit longer than the back, which is actually okay because the machine, as you can see, it slants out. So it's not perfectly square. Your sewing machines are going to be a little more rectangular, so this slants out. So I do need to have a little bit more in the front. So that's okay with how my fabric is right now. So I'm going to need a rectangle. So from pin to pin, I'm going to write this down too, is 8.5. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'll trim up the difference in length on this rectangle piece I'm making when I get ready to hem it, but right now I'm just going to make it so it's going to be a little longer on the one side. And it looks like it's 17 inches. So 8.5 by 17. I'm going to go ahead and add 1 inch to my width just to incorporate the seam allowance. So that's going to make it 9.5. So 9.5 by 17, and I need 2 rectangles to fit the sides. Let's see, how long is this? Perfect. So the excess I just cut off is long enough. Okay, I'm going to cut 9.5. And we need 2 of these. I'm going to just lay this on top of here. Cut another one. Now, if you have a fabric that has a direction, be careful which way you're cutting. Thankfully, my aisles are going both directions, so it really doesn't matter. Let's see. Actually, I cut 2 of those and I really didn't need to. I've got the length. I'm going to use this other piece. Okay. Now, on our main piece, we need to make sure we're going to fold this and line up our pins. Just like this. But we have to mark the other side because we have to know these pins are actually our corners. And it's very important that we know where those corners are on the other side. So I've just lined up the pins on one side. I've got it folded in half, and then I'm going to fold it again. So now I can put pins on the other side exactly where they are on. I just want to show you. So there's a pin on each side right there. Now what I'm going to do, with right sides together, we want the short end of this and I've added a little bit of seam allowance, so it's going to be a little bit wider. I'm lining that up. And I'm going to add another pin because I still want to keep those ones there. Those are my markers for the corners. So then we are going to turn. We've got to make a little kind of a mitered corner, if you will. And we can pin this together and put it over the machine and kind of make sure that we are doing it correctly. So see how I pivoted that? So I'm going to stitch here and then we're going to like, and then you'll go down this side. Got one side pinned, so now I'm going to do the same thing to the other. Right sides together. I'm taking the short side. I'm lining it up to these pins. My short side is going to extend about a ½ inch or so on either side because I did make it a little longer for some seam allowance. Now we're folding this. It's very similar to doing like a mitered corner if you've ever done any like quilt binding. And I'm just swinging the center panel over to meet the side. Okay, now as I mentioned, see this is going to be longer. I'm not going to worry about that right this minute because I'll just, you can see it's I've got more on this end and then not as much. So we will even that up when we go to hem that. But I'm going to, let's see, I think that's the longer side. Let's just, before we do any sewing, this is just like when you're making a garment. It's always good, like if you kind of put part of it together, slip it on and see if you need to do any adjustments before it's all put together permanently, or that way you don't have to rip out as much. So I'm laying this over here. It's pinned. We've got plenty of room. It's not going to be too tight. And I'll show you what we just did. So this is what I just pinned together. This is what that's doing. Now the machine is obviously not perfectly rectangular, but it's got to be able to fit, you know, all the way in the front and the back. So it's not going to be tight. It's going to be a little loose. But this is going to be the same concept. You know, probably the easiest thing to do is to make a toaster cover because it is perfectly square. are much easier. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take it over to the machine. We'll start at the bottom. So when we get to this pin, you're going to have to swing your material around. You're going to have to do a little bit of adjusting to make the corner out of the fabric. We'll sew across and we'll sew down, and that's it. So we'll do that to both sides. So let me take this off. I don't want to get my threads all messed up. And I just started making these because our workroom at the store we do so much stuff with fabric and embroidery and cutting. It's just fibers everywhere. It just gets really dusty. And our floors are tile, so you don't have any carpet to kind of absorb that. All right. Alright, so I'm going to do a little reverse as I get going. Make sure my now as I get closer, I want to make sure that I'm using my needle down button because I'm getting up close to this corner. And so what I want to do is keep the needle down, raise my presser foot. I'm going to swing it around. And I've kind of created like a little, you want to try to avoid as much pleat as possible, but you're pushing that excess fabric to the other side. And if you do this, it's not perfect, don't worry about it. It's just a dust cover. But for your kitchen appliances, it's fun, you know, if they have to sit out on the counter. It's fun to make them a little decorative too. Okay, so I'm getting to my other pin. I'm going to put my needle down. And I'm going to swing this fabric around, and I'm going to go down the other side. So underneath here, I'm going to pull up this excess because you've got one long piece of fabric. Now, if it's easier for you, you can cut that outer piece into 3 and then make seams so you have a definite seam allowance, but it's really not necessary. Okay. Now we'll go and do the other side. We're going to start at the bottom and sew up to those pins. Put my needle down. Pins out. I'm going to raise the presser foot. Swing the material around. I've got the excess fabric on the underneath side. So I'm kind of making a pleat like this and pulling that out from underneath the needle, trying to make it as smooth as possible. Oh, oops. Kind of reverse. Okay, I'm getting to the other pin. Raise that presser foot. We're going to swing it around. Kind of pulling out that excess fabric. So just to show you what we've made here. So there is the corners. I did get a little tuck in this corner, but see how I've made this pleat? It should be a little smoother, but honestly, I'm not going to worry about it. This is just a cover. This one's got like just a little pleat, you know, it's just. So now we're going to turn it and put it on, and then I'm going to adjust the hem. And all we'll need to do is turn that up, push out our corners. And I got to make sure the longer side is going to be my front. So I got to make sure I've got now, I just want to give you an idea here. You can see this. Where's the top? So my centerpiece is definitely too long, but as you can see, this is longer because it needs to hang out in the front and shorter in the back. So yours may do the same. So let me put this on the machine. And then I'll just fold it up. And you can test this, put your cover on. If you want it, if it's still a little too loose for you, you can just go around that seam allowance again and sew a little deeper. But you see how we did this side? So now you can see the square. Okay. I'm going to angle it down so you can see. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tuck this under so that it's even, and it's like doing a pant fitting or something. I'm fitting the machine. So I'm just tacking this under so that it is level with the table. And I'm just going to put my pins around it. Do the back side here. Turn this so I can get to it. But I'm just going to see it flips up, so I'm just turning this under. Okay. So I've got it pinned, but it's just tucked under level. But again, I just want to show you. See how it's just sitting right up against the table. So it's very easy. But here is the side that we put in, just so you can kind of see how that worked. Every time I move that, it makes my camera shake. Sorry. Okay, so what do y'all think? So now I'm going to take this off, and then all we need to do is top stitch this. Put off carefully. So here's what the inside looks like. I've just turned this up. I've got more on this side, so I'm going to trim this a little bit, because what you can do is, if you want to, you can do a fold just to finish that edge on the inside and then do a top stitching. Or if you want to just press it, then you've got a nice crease. Then you can go around the edge and you can actually use your serger and serge that and then top stitch it. But make sure you iron that so you've got a crease so you know where the hem is if you take those pins out. So let me see here. I'm going to trim this up a little bit. Okay, so I want to make sure I want to finish off my edges. So I'm going to put a pin in the fold right there. And then I'm going to take my edge and I will fold up to that and then fold it back down and then put my pin back in. And I'm going to do that all the way around. And then that way it has a nice finished edge. And if I need to wash it, that edge is not going to fray. Let's see, I'm just tucking that under. So now it's finished. I don't know if y'all can hear my dog barking, but she's literally barking right outside the window of the basement. Okay. Let's get this edge turned up. And I do have more to turn up in the back than I do the front because the front is longer, and that is okay. Almost made it around here. Okay, so I got it all tucked in. Also, if you want to finish these inside seams, you could always serge around those, or if you don't have a serger, you could do a little zigzag. So now we will take it over to the sewing machine and we will top stitch it. And as I'm sewing this, I thought of another idea. You could always monogram this. Some people like to name their cars and their machines and stuff, so if your machine has a name, you could always personalize it with that, or just use your own monogram. So that would be really fun and cute. Personalize your cover. Okay, so we are finished. So that was pretty quick and easy. Now let's get our machines covered and see the finished product. Like I said, this is the same process if you wanted to make a cover for your kitchen appliances, not only your sewing room machines. But here we have our finished product. Ta-da! But we've got our gussets put in. It's 3 pieces. It's very easy to do. And again, I wouldn't worry about, making perfect corners or anything. I probably could make this a little bit tighter, but it's just easier than that way. It's not going to be too tight. But I don't have a ton of room, but it's still loose enough. I can pull it on and off, especially with the sergers, the threads and stuff, because it's not going to be unthreaded or anything. I don't want to grab those and get it unthreaded, because that would be bad, because you know what a pain it is to thread your sergers sometimes. I usually just pull the threads through. But just wanted to show you how you can do that for your sergers, sewing machines, kitchen appliances, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to make some other ones for my sewing machines now, but this this machine's bigger than my other one, so I can use this on my other machines as well. So that's kind of nice. But it's very quick and easy. It's not too hard, and just a little bit of measuring. But if you have any questions, leave me a comment and I'll see if I can help you out. But the measurements that I use, just in case you were wanting to try to start with what I let's see, then I did, where's my measurements? Then I did a 39-inch wide by 22. Oh, I'm sorry, 39 inches long by 22. So those were my measurements. 9.5 by 17 was the gusset. 39 by 22 was the main, front to back fabric. But see how cute this would be? Like if you personalized it right here, put a monogram, be really cute in your sewing room. So I may have to like personalize that, or I might do one that's a solid, might kind of blend in with the print that I use. But just dig in your scraps. I'm sure you've got something that'll work. But if you are watching on our Facebook page, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel for more videos, and be sure to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, or hit the little bell icon. It will notify you when we have a new video. Because sometimes we just do YouTube and sometimes we just do Facebook. Today we're doing all of the above. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you for joining me, and I will be seeing you soon. Bye.